Hi, welcome everyone. Today we are here to address some of the conflicts of interest that have risen on the board of Fairtrade Palestine, FTP, and discuss some of the reasons and solutions to those issues. A bit about the company. Fairtrade Palestine is a non-for-profit social enterprise and a registered charity that brings ethically sourced and fair trade products from Palestine to Australia. Obviously, unlike profit-focused companies, we are measuring success here by social impact and not just profit. So lots of areas to oversee. Let's get into it. So generally, conflicts of interest occur when a director's duty to the board clashes with their interests in elsewhere, but they do have a fiduciary detail to disclose these interests to the board, even when they're just perceived, but this is only up to their moral compass whether they choose to do so or not. The situation we're facing today is a Tier 1 conflict of interest between our secretary and the sourcing committee to source the company Hebron Hosts. These parties were found to place their interest above the company's by masquerading them under the 2022 growth strategy. So outside Palestine Fair Trade, the secretary does work as a growth consultant for Hebron Hosts. And if this deal between the two companies was successful, the secretary would stand to gain a commission, which he didn't disclose, displaying self-dealing attitudes as he stands to gain a monetary benefit from this external party. Now, the sourcing committee also has a KPI to source a certain amount of companies on a half-yearly basis, which they would get bonuses from. Now, they did not disclose that they were falling behind in the previous board meetings, and they chose to push this deal even though they knew that it would be detrimental to PFT financially and operationally. Now, by engaging in these hidden deal-making plots, both parties are guilty of betraying their duty of loyalty, faith, and care as a board member to Palestine Fair Trade. And both parties have betrayed their duty of obedience to obeying the strategy set at the beginning of the year, where HH doesn't fit because we only wanted to obtain smaller organizations. While not disclosing conflicts of interest is a serious accusation, I propose that the real problem here is that the board has evolved into a rubber stamp, unprofessional style over the past couple of years, and I believe this is a function of a lot of variables. For example, I'm not seeing a lot of very strong and assertive leadership, which is needed to motivate and guide the board to focus on the things that really matter. This is also a very tight-knit board, which doesn't allow for a lot of diversification in ideology. Also, due to the long-serving nature of this board, it has become very informal because board meetings are happening very haphazardly and are not really regulated to the letter of the law. Finally, a huge problem I'm seeing is decision-making and innovation, because we're not having enough analytical and evaluative discussions happening with the proposals, which is really limiting the uncovering of areas for innovation and forward thinking. Who knows, maybe with a little bit of evaluation, we could have rearranged some operations to make room for bigger companies such as the ones the board and the secretary did propose. But the good news here is that all of you sitting in front of me do have a strong set of skills that are going to help you to evolve again to a more professional board style. So let's uncover some strategies to do so. So beginning with dealing with the conflict of interest, we need to make sure that they are documented in the minutes of the meeting in terms of avoiding legal penalties and providing some evidence. Then we need to distance the secretary and the sourcing committee from any further conversation regarding Hebron Hosts and any sanctions involved. Finally, we're going to have to review and revamp the policies for dealing with conflicts of interest in line with the ACNC governance standards. I would actually also recommend training for the board from external sources and just helping to make that a more second nature consistent process, and also in terms of dealing with any customization and legal protection, a third party would be really helpful in advice. So the first strategy to deal with this rubber stamp board style is to bring on a third party evaluator who's going to help highlight any stale practices, policies, procedures, and attitudes in a rigorous board review, which will highlight the possibility for improvement. The board and the evaluator together need to agree to improve the overall function of the board, example, strategy, policy making, accountability. This will help improve the overall effectiveness and cohesion of the board and really reverse that rubber stamp style to further some innovative efforts. Objection: what makes this person qualified to evaluate us? Great question. So the board will be able to select and approve someone who is a respected chair from another non-competitor board from the same sector so that they know exactly what they're talking about. Objection, this person knows nothing about our organization and culture. How can we be sure that they're making the right assessments and having a good understanding about who we are in our situation? Great objection. So this actually brings me to the second part of my strategy, which is self-evaluations. Now, the board will conduct self-evaluations headed by our chairman in the same board-approved evaluation format used by the external evaluator. Now, both of these assessments will actually focus on the board's contribution and find areas of contribution by the board and specifically focus on areas for improvement. Now, additionally, you'll be able to evaluate the aptitude of the board members and skills and find areas for your own development in connection with your renomination, etc. Now, the board can then compare and contrast findings with the external evaluator's findings and help bridge the differences in understandings and help identify areas for improvement, whole SWOT analysis situation, and really outline strategies to reach another level. Objection, why spend time on this? Why would this even work for us? So this combined strategy is going to help you leverage the new point of view from the external evaluator in terms of things that you may have missed, but also your own experienced opinions and evaluations. And together this will tackle the most relevant issues, creating the rubber stamp board and alleviating that as well. We'll be able to see greater leadership capability and attitudes. You'll have a greater clarity of your roles and responsibilities, allowing you to focus. You'll have improved teamwork and culture full of openness and trust and embracing of new ideas. And you'll also have really good evaluation and a betterment of decision-making skills. On the whole, you're going to be much more effective board in terms of your processes and operations. Now, my second two-pronged strategy is going to be to beat the board's unenergized nature and revamp the culture by developing healthy attitudes towards new and conflicting ideologies to really, boost the innovation. So we're going to be sending the directors to conflict management courses. Now, conflict should always be managed in relation to its impact on organizational learning, stakeholders, and the actual ethics around the conflict. And at the moment, we don't have an effective ruling around how to encourage conflict for effective organizational learning. So right now we have no conflict at all, which really suppresses motivation and innovation and reduces a lot of job satisfaction for you guys as well. And it develops agnostic attributions. Now, all of these things we're actually seeing on the board right now as part of a rubber stamp style. So the second part of this strategy is going to be able to implement non-violent communication methodologies. Now, we request that all board meetings have this framework present physically so that you can practice speaking in ways that encourage healthy debate and defeat the rubber stamp board attitude. Now, we deal especially with communities that have been traumatized by violence and who have been reprimanded for thinking freely. And we need to speak in non-violent ways that encourage conflicting thinking in the pursuit of innovation, actually be able to celebrate those kind of debates. Now, if the committee and the secretary had felt safe to express their conflicts of interest and failings without being met by a wall of groupthink, we may have found a way to adapt and accommodate these new proposals. So this communication strategy helps build safer, stronger, and more committed board relationships, which is going to lead to more high-functioning teams, which are able to deal healthily with conflicting ideas and, better explore innovation and cost-cutting and really helping you to realize your organizational goals faster, which is all about people and making a long-lasting social impact. So in conclusion, we have actually looked at conflicts of interest on a rubber stamp, unprofessional board style. We've looked at the reasons that these things occur, and we've also looked at solutions to dispel that kind of board style and these kind of conflicts, and we've really dove into some good strategies that are going to help. So I hope you guys have gained something from this, and I look forward to seeing how your organization evolves. Thank you.